The deep woods have always held a certain kind of magic for me. Not the enchanting fairy tale kind, but something older, darker, a primordial quiet that hums with secrets. That's what drew me, my camera, and my overconfidence to the Blackwood Forest. It was supposed to be a simple weekend trip, capture some stunning nature shots, breathe in the pine-scented air, and escape the city's relentless noise. The first day was perfect. Sunlight dappled through the canopy, birds sang, and the path was clear. I felt alive, completely at ease. I should have known that in places like this, ease is a warning. By the second morning, a thick, unnatural fog had rolled in, swallowing the landscape. It wasn't just misty. It was a heavy, wet blanket that muffled every sound, even my own footsteps on the damp earth. The trail markers I'd been following so casually had vanished. I checked my compass. The needle spun uselessly, a dizzying dance of magnetic confusion. My phone, of course, had no signal. It was just me and the oppressive silence of the fog. Panic, cold and sharp, began to prickle at the back of my neck. I told myself to stay calm, to backtrack. But every direction looked the same, an endless gray wall of trees. Hours bled into one another. My confident strides became a desperate shuffle. The forest was changing. The trees, once majestic, now seemed to twist into menacing shapes. Their branches clawed at the sky like skeletal fingers. The silence I'd craved was now a torment, broken only by the frantic pounding of my own heart. I started hearing things, a twig snapping just behind me, a faint whisper that seemed to ride the mist. I'd whirl around, camera ready, only to find nothing. Just more trees, more fog, more silence. Was it my mind playing tricks on me? Or was I truly not alone? As dusk began to settle, the fog took on a sickly orange glow, and the temperature plummeted. I was shivering, not just from the cold, but from a growing visceral fear. That's when I saw the first one. Carved into the bark of a massive oak was a symbol, a spiral with a single, unblinking eye at its center. It was crudely etched, but it felt ancient, malevolent, chill that had nothing to do with the weather snaked down my spine. I pushed on, desperate to find the trail, and then I saw another one, and another. The symbols were everywhere, marking the trees like a territorial claim. This wasn't a public forest anymore. I had stumbled into someone's, or something's, domain. Night fell completely, and the darkness was absolute. My flashlight beam felt pitifully small, a tiny spear of light against an ocean of black. The whispers grew louder, clearer. They weren't in English, or any language I recognized. It was a guttural, clicking tongue that seemed to come from all directions at once. I felt watched. The feeling was so intense it was almost a physical pressure, like hands pressing in on me from the darkness. I ran. I didn't care about direction anymore. I just ran, branches whipping at my face, roots tripping me. I fell hard, my flashlight skittering away and extinguishing with a sickening crack. Plunged into total blackness, the sounds of the forest became my entire world. The rustling wasn't animals anymore. It was a rhythmic, shuffling gait. The whispers were closer, turning into low, throaty chuckles. I could smell something foul on the air-damp earth and decay, mixed with a scent so acrid it burned my nostrils. I crawled on my hands and knees, scrambling for my dead flashlight, my fingers brushing against something tall and thin. I thought it was a sapling until I felt it. It wasn't wood, it was bone. I recoiled in horror, my hand coming away sticky. I had stumbled into a clearing, and my eyes, slowly adjusting to the faintest moonlight filtering through the fog, began to make out shapes. They were totems of a sort. Crude effigies made of sticks, animal bones, and strips of cloth, all arranged around the clearing. And hanging from them were personal items, a child's worn teddy bear, a single hiking boot, a faded photograph. My blood ran cold. These were trophies, tributes from others who had gotten lost, others who never made it out. In the center of the clearing stood the largest effigy, and tied to it, with what looked like human hair, was a digital camera. It was the same model as mine. The realization hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't random. I hadn't just stumbled in here. I was led here. A figure detached itself from the shadows of the trees. It was tall, impossibly thin, its limbs moving with a disjointed grace that was deeply unsettling. I couldn't see a face, just a pale, smooth oval where features should have been. It made no sound as it moved toward me, but the whispers in the air intensified, coiling around me, a chorus of spectral voices. I was paralyzed, pinned by a fear so profound it stole the air from my lungs. This was it. This was the thing from the woods, the ancient presence that owned this land. The entity that collected souvenirs from its lost visitors. I don't know what broke the spell. Maybe it was pure animal instinct. I scrambled backward, away from the clearing, away from the silent, approaching figure. I got to my feet and ran with a desperation I've never known. The shuffling sounds were behind me, keeping pace effortlessly. The clicking whispers were in my ear. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I just ran, fueled by adrenaline and terror, tears streaming down my face. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs gave out. And then, through the thinning fog, I saw it. A light. A single, blessed porch light from a distant farmhouse on the edge of the woods. I burst from the tree line and collapsed onto a dirt road, gasping, sobbing, looking back at the impenetrable wall of black that was the forest. The sounds had stopped. There was nothing but the chirping of crickets and the gentle hum of the farmhouse light. I was safe. But I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to my very soul, that it had let me go. It had watched me run. It had enjoyed the chase. And as I lay there, trembling on the cold ground, I understood. This story, my survival, wasn't the end of its hunt. It was a warning to the next person who dares to ignore the secrets the deep woods keep. Some places aren't meant for us. And if you find yourself lost amongst the trees, pray you don't see the symbols. Pray you don't hear the whispers. Because it's waiting. It's always waiting. Thanks for listening, and please be careful out there.